The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying out what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in Christchurch, New Zealand, 6 days ago, there was a mass shooting. I told y'all about it, and I'm sure it hit your news screen at some point. 50 people were killed across 2 mosques, you know, where the Muslims worship and all of that, whatever. Brenton Tarrant, who was found out to be like a white supremacist based on, you know, the evidence that was left out. He left some manifesto where he was saluting Trump and all that other weird shit, right? As a result, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand being the island that's right outside of Australia on the southeast, actually said that they're banning all military-style weapons, all militarized, any military weaponry, any high-capacity magazines, any parts that can actually convert a regular weapon into a military-style weapon is all being banned. Now, there's a lot of so-called liberals that are going to praise this on this side because that's what people have been asking for. But ask yourselves, do you really trust the government or the police? Green War on graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on in this BFN report. So over in Southeast Africa, you got Mozambique, you got Malawi, and you got Zimbabwe. They were actually hit by a cyclone this past weekend. I told y'all about Cyclone Idai, I-D-A-I, and this actually crushed these countries. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's definitely in specific parts. For example, in Beira, B-E-I-R-A, Beira, Mozambique, it was a city of actually like 500,000 people. 90% of this city was destroyed. So right now the death toll in Mozambique is said to be like 200, but you know, it's expected to rise even more. Some even say towards 1,000. So you know, it's real crazy over there, and you definitely got to pray for the people over there. And you know, just in Mozambique, they declared 3 days of national mourning for what has just happened, and the countries in general are struggling. So I know we want to think about New Zealand and all of that, but let's pray for our brothers and sisters over there. Green War and graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady laying out what the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa, they declared state emergencies because over in for all towns that are actually around the Mississippi River, there's a bunch of flooding going on, like massive flooding, to where 4 people have actually died in this past week. What's happening is all of the snow that's been taking place, because you know we had the polar vortex recently that ran all through the Midwest, and you know a bunch of cold fronts that hit the whole country. So it's been snowing a lot of places. But it's also been funny with the weather, where the weather is changing and it's melting all of this snow. So over there about the Mississippi River, all of the water is actually that's coming from the melted snow is heightening up the river and actually broke a few levees. So yeah, man, 4 people died, and there's an estimated $1 billion in damages, man. So if you got fam in Missouri, Nebraska, you know what I mean, Iowa, or to all my fans that's out there, you know what I'm saying, we got y'all on positive thoughts, man. Green War on graduation, you know the mob. The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on for this BFN report. So U.S. District Judge Rudolph Contreras, Washington, D.C., he actually blocked temporarily the oil and gas drilling that was supposed to be going on 300,000 acres of federal land in Wyoming. So, and you know, citing the reason being like what's been happening as far as like the climate and climate change. So finally somebody in the government, I ain't gonna say finally, it's popped up here and there, and that's why I reported, just to let y'all know, like there are people that are in government that are in position that actually know what's happening, like, and willing to acknowledge it, and they not just blinded by greed. So you know, salute to him. Hopefully they'll get a blocking of the drilling and shit that they trying to do along the Atlantic Ocean. I know some of my white constituency and maybe possibly my right-wing followers ain't gonna like that, but at the end of the day, it's fucking up the earth, man. What you want to happen, man? And stay tuned. You know the motto: Green War and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying out what the fuck going on. So I'm gonna talk some European shit to y'all for a second. So over at The Hague, which is in Switzerland, the United Nations War Crimes Tribunal actually for Yugoslavia actually rejected the appeal of Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic. I want to make sure I'm saying his name right. This dude was actually found guilty in 2016 of war crimes for basically ordering the massacre of 8,000 Bosnian Muslims in 1995. So from 92 to 95, there was the Bosnian War, which actually left 100,000 people dead. A very violent situation. And I'm talking about an area that most people aren't familiar with because partially because the shit keeps changing. Like, there's no more Yugoslavia, and you know what I mean. So it was that type of like civil war type of thing going on based on proximity. You could call it a civil war. Nevertheless, instead of accepting his appeal, he actually upped his sentence to life. So you know what I mean. Good riddance, man. Green Wall and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying on the fuck going on. So in New York City this month, actually, they're having an annual commission on the status of women, where women from all over the world are supposed to come and talk about the status of women, right? But the Trump administration is actually denying women entry into this. Now, this apparently violates a 70-year-old treaty that the United States has had to be able to allow anybody from the United Nations into the country for United Nations meetings or whatever. And that's just not what's happening right now. It's suspected that 41 women are actually being denied entry into this shit. So it's kind of fucked up, and it has to do with his travel ban policies. When I say his, I'm talking about that fuckboy Donald Trump. Some of the countries on the list: North Korea, Syria, Libya, Iran. You know what I mean? There's a few others. So stay woke, man. Green Wall and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on. So the Pentagon's Inspector General is actually launching a probe into Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan. Basically into his they're suspicious about his relationship with Boeing, and that he's basically been favoring them over other defense contractors. So this is coming a week after this ethics commission, this watchdog group from Washington. I forget the name of the group. It's like Ethics Commission, some shit like that. But they basically had called Patrick Shanahan out, quoted him talking shit against like Lockheed Martin. Now, in general, I don't give a fuck about none of these countries, because this is all part of the military-industrial complex. But if we are to care about like capitalism, if that's what we want to preserve, we don't want to go and get into like state-run and state-owned companies and get away from like just like the elimination of capitalism and democracy. This has to be taken seriously, because this is an antitrust issue, a monopoly issue. Green Wall and graduation. We're gonna do the Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on. So Disney actually just completed its acquisition for 21st Century Fox, the entertainment side of White Fox News, the motherfuckers over there, you know what I'm saying? And this acquisition actually was worth $71.3 billion. This officially makes Disney the largest entertainment conglomerate ever. You know what I'm saying? And possibly even for years to come. Now, what this is gonna do is almost an antitrust issue, meaning that it's almost like the things about monopolies stifle the competition. You know what I'm saying? And it's pretty much where if you got the most money, you could just basically buy up everything, and kind of just destroys democracy, as you've seen. So this is definitely a antitrust scare, but it's been allowed to happen. And now a lot of other smaller studios, in order to compete, it can't really compete with no Disney. They're gonna start doing the same thing. So hopefully it don't spiral out of control. But BFN, we gonna stand our ground. Green Wall and graduation. The New World Order, Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on for this BFN report. So over in Central Asia, the country of Kazakhstan, near Pakistan and all that, whatever, but it's really in Asia and shit. The authoritarian leader there, he's been the leader for 3 decades. We're talking about Nursultan Nazarbayev. He's been ruling since 1991, when the country was actually run by the Soviet Union. They broke up. And running ever since. So that's almost 3 decades or whatever. Well, he's actually stepping down from his presidency, or from his leadership position. But so he's 78 years old, and actually in honor of him, they're gonna rename the capital of the country after him. They're gonna call it Nursultan now, instead of I think it's like something with an AS something. Nevertheless, his daughter though is 55-year-old daughter. She's actually climbing the ranks in government, and it could be a possible successor. So but that's what's happening over there, man. Just stay woke. Green Wall and graduate. We'll do the Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on for this BFN report. Over in the northwestern tip of Africa, we have the Western Sahara, and then we have on the east side of that, you have Morocco. Now, hip hop community, they know about Morocco because French Montana is from Morocco, right? Well, Morocco has actually been occupying the Western Sahara for about 43 years now. Ever since 1975, there's been rapes, murders, tortures, imprisonment of the Western Saharan people, the indigenous people there called the Sahrawi. Now, the United Nations has actually convened talks between the Kingdom of Morocco and the liberation movement over in Western Sahara, known as the Polisario Front. So hopefully there'll be some positivity coming about it, because even though Morocco's been, occupying the area, nobody on earth actually even acknowledges this country as being Moroccan. So there you have it. Hopefully some peace will come about. Green War and graduation. We'll do the Bishop Grady laying over the fuck going on for this BFN report. So, two slaves back in 1850 were forced to take a picture for a Harvard professor. These slaves were named Renty and Delia. Now, 169 years later, one of their descendants is actually filing a lawsuit against Harvard University for unfairly profiting from these photos. Now, let me describe these photos. They're black and white. You have the woman, her titties is all out, whatever. You had a man, he got his, chest open, taco meat showing, whatever. He looked kind of bruised and battered, whatever. It looked like some slavery shit that we'd expect to see from back then and all of that, whatever. Nevertheless, Harvard has even recently had a forum where they were use these photos, and they were talking about universities and slavery. So in this lawsuit that Tamara Lanier of Connecticut filed yesterday, she said that her and the descendants are the only people that should actually profit from these photos, and Harvard has been unfairly profiting from it. This goes around where elite universities actually admitting that their foundations is coming from slavery, fiscally and physically. Green War and graduation.